Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I'll ask that all present please silence cell phones and other electronic devices, and I'll remind council that our procedure bylaw prescribes the use of technology during council meetings. It is 6:30 p.m. I'll call this council meeting to order, and I'll begin with a formal territorial acknowledgement. The Municipality of Brighton Council recognizes and acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe, now of Alderville. The Mississauga nations agreed through treaties with the Crown to mutual sharing obligations and responsibilities as stewards of the lands and waters. We recognize that these are now our shared obligations and partnership to continue to protect the land and the water that we now know as Brighton. In doing our work, we honor the Indigenous ancestors who came before us and who continue to be present in lands which we occupy. We acknowledge and honor the Indigenous people who continue to hold and share this rich history, these traditions and cultures that are proud, modern, and vibrant. Move to the approval of the agenda, moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council approve the September 16th, 2024 Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Members of Council, have you any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. Are there any announcements this evening? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just first like to announce that on Friday, yourself and I, along with two staff members, Mr. Puffer and Miss Scott, participated in the amazing race for Gift from the Heart. A great day. We had a lot of fun. It was good. No one was injured. So it was a good thing. And
luckily.
And Bev from Gift of the Heart just gave me a note here that they raised $37,000.
Good work. Well done. Congratulations.
Wonderful job.
Are there any other announcements? I was going to do farmers market, but you can do farmers market if you'd like. We were pleased to be up at Codrington yesterday for the 10th anniversary of the farmers market. My remarks were, it was great to see that the farmers market's been around 10 years. And I'm sure Leanna agrees that it feels like a long 10 years, but it feels like it's been an institution, quite frankly. It feels like it's been there forever. I'm surprised that it's only 10 years at the end of the day. And while we were there, we planted 2 apple trees in honor of Applefest's 50th anniversary, one to honor the past orchard farmers of the past, and one to honor orchard farmers of the future. So that was well attended by half a dozen at least former apple growers in the community. So that was great. And it was, we were pleased that Mr. Yatsula was able to join us on a Sunday. We appreciate when staff are able to do that. So thank you for that. Are there any other announcements? Go ahead, Councillor Rowley.
I think you should also recognize Mike and Lori's. They had 3 trees that were donated this year. One that we have put in Rose Ellery Park, plus the 2 that went over to Codrington.
So now I don't have to.
And now
because you've done a good job at that. Thank you very much. Yeah. Also point out that Ms. Birch was there as well. So on a Sunday, taking time out of her Sunday for that. So thank you. Any other announcements, folks? Thank you. Adoption of the minutes, moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that Council adopt the September 3rd, 2024 Council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
If I may, Mayor, I'd like to make a couple of comments.
You may.
Based on those. So although I agreed with the resolution that directed staff to engage with county social services, and I am pleased to see that staff have responded so quickly with a report in tonight's agenda. Having 2 weeks to review the motion, maybe some of the concerns by the mover and the seconder could have been answered. I wished I had a little more time to review all of that. I agree that being proactive and being prepared is always best practice, but my concern is how do we deal with this situation when it does not cause maybe more reactive actions. Also, as for dismantling the shelter in Proctor Park, I was wondering if all of the compassionate dialogue that we had regarding the homelessness issue could have been expressed at the Lower Trent Conservation Area Board and staff meeting. maybe some of that dialogue between the municipality and Lower Trent could have saved the shelter until funds are raised to replace it. Wondering how far the dollars being spent to tear it down could have improved and extended the life of the shelter. I would ask that our council reps bring my concerns and comments to their next meeting. And as well as for health and safety concerns in Proctor Park, I would hope that at some point, the long grass and large tree limbs and logs need to be addressed as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Not really here to re-prosecute the meeting, so I'm going to just ask if there's any other comments with regard to the minutes. All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Although I suspect your council colleagues have heard you and will carry the message forward. Thank you. And a motion moved by Councillor Freda, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council adopt the September 6, 2024 special council meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. A motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Wright, that council adopt the September 9th, 2024 council planning meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. We have no delegations or presentations on the agenda. Madam Clerk, are you aware of any citizens' comments before us? No. We have no citizens' comments this evening. That brings us to our first staff report. It is with regard to the British phone booth donation options. Manager Hagerman, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, not at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive this report on options for the use of the British phone booth that is being donated to the municipality of Brighton for information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. I recall that a few years ago, the Sustainability Committee had an idea for having an information booth in Memorial Park. And one of the things that they had looked at was the fact that it would need to have some kind of shelter to keep it out of the rain. And so when I read this report, I was transported back to this brief discussion that we had had, and I know of at least one Brightonian who was probably clapping, saying, yes, that's the answer. So I guess my 2 cents is that this idea has come up before. Maybe it's something needed.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was just wondering if it's being looked at any insurance implications and liability with having that on any of the municipal property. It's a heavy piece. It shouldn't move, but I'm just concerned that if it does move.
Manager Hagerman.
Through the mayor to the rest of the council, I have not got to that step at this point. Report just outlines some opportunities that might be available with the donated piece of equipment.
Thank you for that. Anything further? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next report is the September 2024 Information Technology Work Plan. Manager Casabo, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
No, Mr. Mayor, not at this time.
Thank you. It's a lot of work for that, isn't it? I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the September 2024 Information Technology Work Plan report as information. Is there any discussion? Councillor Fredis.
Through the chair to Mr. Casibo. I'm just reading here, it says, continue to advocate for increased municipal broadband and cellular connectivity. Are we having a problem with that? I mean, I know rural has a broadband issue, but I wasn't aware that we had a issue with that in the urban area.
Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, and I don't believe so at this time, but that was just part of the plan put forth by the consultant, so that was added to the report. Ben might have more answers to that than I do, actually.
You're being put on the spot, Mr.
Yes, so.
Hagerman.
Yeah, through the mayor to the rest of council, through John. Yeah, I've only dealt with the rural complications and challenges that have been going on for a couple, well, COVID really brought those challenges out forefront. We had but we've had a lot of sections of urban Brighton been replaced by fiber in the last since I've been around. So call that 5 years. I don't hear a lot of urban complaints, but yeah, the trouble is in the rural for sure.
Councillor Wheeldon.
I had occasion to drive along Highway 2 between Coburg and Brighton today, and I dropped a call in every town along the way.
Mm-hmm.
There on you were on Highway 2, is that right? County Road 2, and along the 401, along that same corridor, there are several dips. I always say I'm about to go through, and I won't name the community, so I might lose you. But yes, we EORN, everyone remembers EORN, the Eastern Ontario Regional Network, worked on a cell gap project, spent many dollars on that, and yet there still appears to be many cell gaps. So still work to be done, I suppose. Anything further on the motion? Councillor Fredis.
Thank you, through the chair, just as a follow-up. So if I understand correctly, urban's okay for broadband cellular connectivity, so our focus should still be rural. So that's my takeaway. Just looking at some of your other things here, I noticed that you're developing and adopting a strategy for cybersecurity, and that's kind of a hot button for me because every time I seem to open a paper, there's some municipality being held hostage because they've been hacked. Can I take it from this that it's on the list? It's a hot button and priority for you as well?
Mr. Casabo.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's correct. We're dealing with that with a number of means, including improvements, which will be included in next year's budget as well. But we're continually updating our systems and software and providing regular information to staff to allow them to be informed and stay informed with regards to any upcoming or existing concerns and things like that, so that they if they receive unknown emails or have to visit websites that are provided and links, to be very vigilant about that fact, and if they do have any concerns with that, then to make sure that they contact the IT department as well. And we also we have cyber insurance just in case as well. So if there anything were to happen with regard to that type of situation, then we're covered for sure. But the most important part is to be covered up front to make sure we have the proper gateways and firewalls in place to provide the best protection possible. And we're continually working on that with our provider, our managed service provider as well, to make sure that all of our equipment and software is as up to date as it can be, and to make sure everything's protected as much as possible.
Thank you both. Anything further? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next report is the arena ice installation. Manager Hallam, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to point out a few of my observations that I made today on our opening day. I did test the ice conditions when I went for a skate early this morning. There's 25 to 30 egg-sized droplets from the condensation. Not ideal for a skater unless you want to have a ultimate unwelcome speed bump. The ice down the center strip is blemished from all the banners that hang in the rafters and the water that drips off of them. So the condition isn't our best showcase condition right now. It is operational. It is still safe, but it doesn't showcase as our best ice at this time of year. With the high temperatures outside today, staff were squeegeeing the water as it melted on the ice. So I just wanted to point out the rationale for that report today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll read the motion, then we can chat. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council received the arena ice installation report for information purposes. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. Manager Hallam, would you recommend that we put the ice in later in the season? Is this a resource suck? Is it potentially creating dangerous conditions, et cetera?
Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor. I would recommend that we waited till at least another 2 weeks till we get past this warmer temperatures. Ideally, a lot of rural, smaller communities would go from October. So we're a couple of weeks in advance.
And yet we've all heard the plight of groups like minor hockey, which really wanted to be in immediately after Labor Day in order to start their tryouts because of the Ontario minor hockey schedule and the rules that they fall under for that. So we'll read about this a little later, but I'm going to say all the more reason to get to that multi-use recreation center and start working on next steps because I think it's time maybe for a new, more environmentally friendly facility in the municipality. This one is showing its age and has been for a while. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Running out of ink. That brings us to Tiny Tree Forest. Manager Hallam, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No further things to add.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. The council approve the recommendation for staff to relocate the Tiny Tree Forest from Harbor Street and County Road 64 to the Butler Creek Trail Stallwood link. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion's carried. Next report is the new Ice Resurfacer Purchase. Manager Hallam, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Thank you. I have nothing further to add.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council approve $13,261.12 in addition to the $95,000 allocated in the 2024 budget to acquire the proposed ice resurfacer at a total cost of $108,261.12, which includes a $10,000 trade-in on the 2014 ice resurfacer. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. And this question might be directed to Ms. Whitfield. The balance of the dollars being spent are coming out of the Recreation Reserve. I'm not exactly sure how many dollars we have there. Hopefully this doesn't deplete that account.
Director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Ostrander, to Councillor Rowley. Right now, we have projected 314,000. So reducing it by this amount would take it down to around 300,000.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Brings us to the agreement between the municipality and the Brighton Curling Club, CAO. We've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
None at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council approve the bylaw authorizing the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Brighton and the Brighton and District Curling Club. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Reading this agreement, I saw the section that noted that all capital costs for this facility still belong to the municipality. And I was reminded that at the accessibility committee, we received some feedback from a survey that we had put out that included someone who has expressed that the curling rink is not accessible and that they're not able to access curling because the facility itself is difficult for them to get in and out of. We have a provincial deadline of 2025 to be fully accessible. And so that's something I just wanted to draw attention to here.
Thank you. Sounds like another good reason to start our multi-use recreational center task force. CAO, do you have any comment on that?
No, sir, not this time.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. The next report is the social services available in the municipality of Brighton report. CAO, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. The council received the report on social services available in the municipality of Brighton and direct staff to continue to engage with the County of Northumberland staff on any initiatives where a partnership could exist to address homelessness in the municipality. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. Thank you, Councillor Rowley, for deferring. I just wanted to thank CAO Arthurs for being so prompt in addressing this. I think it reflects how important and timely of an issue this is. And I'm actually quite pleased with the result, because the result is, while it might seem like we're not doing any particular thing, the result is that we've learned that there are things that are already being done. I've been working with the issue of housing and homelessness in this area for quite a long time. I have been on the board of the shelter. I started a task force on housing and homelessness, and I did not know that these services were available in Brighton. If I didn't know, who else doesn't know? And so the reaching out to be partners is really first and foremost maybe an opportunity for education and then collaboration. One of the primary things we do at the Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness is learn. We have representatives from every municipality, and we are learning every time we meet every month to learning about what it is that the county is doing, how that interacts with our level of government, and then we talk about what more can we do. And as often as not, or more often than not, perhaps, the answer is the best thing we can do is express support publicly for what the county is doing. And that was the other purpose for this motion. So thank you again all for passing it and for addressing it so promptly.
Thank you for that. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want add a little information under the Northumberland Fair Share Food Bank. As far as Brighton, it has listed here that we're open Mondays from 9 till 12. We're also open the third Monday evenings, the third Monday from 5 till 7. If that could be added to the list, as we have found over the years that those who work cannot access it in the 9 o'clock timeframe. So if we could add that to for the information underneath there at some point, or if the county does, can we forward that to them?
CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Rowley, are you speaking about the website, just for clarity?
Your microphone, please.
I'm looking at page 9 of 10 of the report, where all of the information is listed there. It says Northumberland Fair Share Food Bank, and under Brighton, we only list Mondays 9 till 12. But I would ask if they could add the third Monday from 5 till 7.
Sorry, will do. We'll clarify with the county to make sure we get that.
Okay, that's
for
great.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, is this resource list, is it available in a pamphlet type manner where it could be stationed at maybe key points, one in Memorial Park, maybe one at King Edward, so that people have access to that in a handy manner for those who might need the services?
CAO, do you know the answer to that? I do not.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor I do not know, Councillor Wright. I do not know if they have it in a pamphlet, but we can certainly ask.
That would be great. Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Brings us to the YMCA new memorandum of understanding and lease agreement renewal. CAO, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, I do not.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council authorize the execution of the bylaw to approve the new memorandum of understanding between the YMCA Northumberland and the Municipality of Brighton, and renew the lease agreement with the YMCA Northumberland for the space located at 170 Main Street, Brighton, Ontario. And the council directs staff to bring back a terms of reference for establishing an advisory committee to begin planning for the future multi-use recreational facility for the Municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? Councillor Fredis.
To the chair, to the CAO, in looking through this, I can't quite recall, based on the rental fee that's quoted, whether that includes their share of the common space or not.
CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Fredis, the common space was not included. That was any information that was received, I think, late last year, possibly early of 2024, when council had asked for some additional information to come back, but we did not make any changes to the existing space. So this does not include the common space.
Thank you. Anything further?
Follow up.
Councillor Fredis, as a follow-up.
I see that there is no escalator provision, which is inherent in our current lease. So this lease rate is now fixed for 7 or 8 years. Is that what I'm reading?
CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Fredis, we did not index the 40,000, nor did we index the rent. So we were leaving it similar to the curling club agreement. We were leaving it as a fixed rate. That was the proposal.
Okay. And
Is this a follow-up as well?
yes, a follow-up, please. So we're still right back to 30,000 for the first year, and now a commitment of 40,000 for the next 7. But my recollection of our last discussion was that we were going to strive to be in the $20,000 range per our grants and aids budget policy, but obviously that has shifted.
So just to point out, that was your goal. That was not necessarily council's goal. So staff's direction was to go back and negotiate with the YMCA, and this is what we have in front of us today. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just reading through the agreement, I'm looking at page 3 of 5 of the report. Under areas of responsibility, the municipal council and the YMCA agree to be mutually supportive of one another in applications of provincial and federal grants. Would those grants be focused on just the Brighton Y? So if there were monies available through the government for whatever improvements we needed in that, would that be just solely for Brighton and not once again shared with Coburg?
CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Rowley. The YMCA is set up as the Northumberland YMCA, so I'm not sure that any grant application that we would be able to dedicate specifically. We could certainly look at them on an individual basis. My expectation when I look at the partnerships with the YMCA will be focusing on a new facility. We had a lot of discussion about their involvement in that and the opportunity to fundraise, and specifically directing that to a new facility so that we didn't have the issue of going back through Northumberland YMCA, but focusing it more on Brighton.
Anything further from members of council? All those in favor?
Recorded vote, please.
You may. Madam Clerk, recorded vote has been requested by Councillor Rowley.
Councillor Emily Rowley,
No.
Councillor Jeff Wheeldon,
Yes.
Councillor Bobby Wright,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ron Anderson,
Yes.
Councillor Byron Fredis,
No.
Mayor Brian Ostrander.
Yes.
That's been carried.
Next report is the CAO ongoing report and capital projects report. CAO, do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council received the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update as information. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. We have no notices of motions, and we have no motions. We have nothing listed under unfinished business, which brings us to bylaws. First bylaw is with regard to the Brighton and District Curling Club Agreement. It's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to execute an agreement between the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton and the Brighton and District Curling Club. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. The next is an MOU between Northumberland YMCA and the Municipality of Brighton. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Wright. Being a bylaw to authorize, it should read, that council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton and YMCA Northumberland regarding an 8-year lease at 170 Main Street, Brighton, Ontario, and a memorandum of understanding for programs and services. For your information, Councillor Wheeldon and Councillor Wright as the mover and seconder, I have added that line that council gives this bylaw for second, third reading because it was not written here. Is there any discussion? Those in favor?
Ordered vote, please.
You may. Madam Clerk, a recorded vote has been requested by Councillor Rowley.
Counselor Emily Rowley,
No.
Counselor Jeff Wheeldon,
Yes.
Counselor Bobby Wright,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ron Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Byron Fredes,
No.
Mayor Brian Ostrander.
Yes.
And that's carried.
We'll move on to reports, minutes of advisory committees of council and review teams. The first comes from the Community Events Civic Awards Steering Committee. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive the Community Events and Civic Awards Steering Committee meeting minutes of July 9th, 2024. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. Next is Applefest Advisory with a motion moved by Councillor Fredes, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. The council received the Applefest Advisory Committee meeting minutes of July 23rd, 2024. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you. And maybe I should have done it at announcements, but we won't be meeting again before Applefest. So just want to make sure that everyone in Brighton knows it's next weekend. And we hope to see you on the street.
So not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. Yeah, that's correct. Yes. Anything further for members of council? Councillor Wright.
And don't forget to leave your dogs at home, please.
1 year we'll get that message through. Maybe this year, we'll see. Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next is Heritage Advisory. With a motion moved by Councillor Fredes, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the Heritage Advisory Committee meeting minutes of July 8th, 2024 as presented. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And a recommendation from the Heritage Advisory Committee. It's moved by Councillor Fredes and seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council directs staff to investigate a grant in aid The The council directs staff to investigate a grant in aid type program to provide heritage property owners 50% of costs for enhancements made to heritage aspects detailed in its designation bylaw versus a tax break program for heritage properties or inclusion in CIP programs and report back to council with recommendations. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Councilor Rowley.
And based on the addition to that motion, would that be a place for something like that could be considered as we're dealing with community improvement plans, that it could go under that? That was just kind of our discussion earlier.
I think it makes some sense. I'd look to Director Walsh to see if he has any brief comments. I don't know if you heard me.
Sure. So there's a different ways of doing it. Yes, CIP under Section 20 of the Planning Act can be considered to provide grants or other sponsorship to heritage properties where persons improve the property, but and towards heritage conservation purposes, and in doing so, then is able to perhaps either, it depends on what the CIP reads, either get a grant or loan, or that if it's substantively improved such that the value of the property is expected to go up considerably, that the taxes are held in abeyance for a period of time as specified in the council bylaw that ultimately gets passed. That's one approach. There's also a approach very similar under the Heritage Act, a bylaw under the Heritage Act, and it would have essentially the same effect. One act allows you to give it to tenants of properties as well. While the other one doesn't. And which one does, I don't recall offhand, but those are.
Sure, we'll get the details in the report that comes back to council.
We will find those details.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Brings us to reports and minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. This comes from the Northumberland County. This is the Northumberland OPP Detachment Board. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council received the Northumberland County OPP reports for May, June, July 2024 as information. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Bringing us to correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. First item is a concern with speeding on Raglan Street. Correspondence from Kathy Thomas. It's moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. The council refer the correspondence email from Kathy Thomas regarding speeding on Raglan Street to staff for the Transportation Master Plan study. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. The next is a resolution from Trent Hills with regard to the intersection at County Road 29 and 30. With a motion moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Councillor Anderson, that council received the resolution from the Municipality of Trent Hills regarding a request for safety improvements at the intersection of County Road 29 and 30. Is there any discussion? Is there a reason we're not supporting this, Councillor Fredis, as the mover? Your microphone, sir.
No, other than I took the last line that the County of Northumberland and the Municipality of Brighton be advised of Trent Hill's decision. I didn't read it that they were looking for us to support, just to receive and understand.
My preference would be for us to support this in order to improve that intersection. It is a bad has been for a long time, a bad intersection in the County of Northumberland. It intersects two county roads plus a municipal roadway. The municipal roadway being the roadway that the employees of the Correctional Institute take to go to work. And I might have said something weird like, there's lots of land in that area for a roundabout or a traffic circle at a Public Works Committee meeting at the county. So the traffic circles tend to be expensive, but they also tend to be incredibly safe for the movement of vehicles. So your motion, I'm not telling you what to do, but
I'm quite happy to change it to support. As I said, that's how I interpreted the note from them, but support's fine.
Deputy Mayor is the seconder. Are you okay with that? Thank you. So I've changed receive to support. So we're now supporting the correspondence from Trent Hills. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. With my thanks, it's helpful moving these things forward. We have nothing listed under FYI correspondence, which brings us to question period. If there's anyone in the gallery, there's no one on Zoom. If there's anyone in the gallery who has a question with anything that was presented on tonight's agenda, you may approach the microphone and ask your question. Usually there's only two people here. That's Sure, why not? Only because we're running early.
Thank you. I just wanted to formally thank the Municipality of Brighton for supporting the Gift from the Heart Amazing Race this past week. It was incredible. The amount of businesses, nonprofit clubs, everybody that got involved, it was just a labor of love. And to have the mayor and council and staff participate was just, just a tip to the hat of just how involved our community is in supporting small nonprofits. So I just wanted to say a formal thank you and to say to Mr. Thompson over here, Chief, that his pit stop was by far the very most exciting pit stop we've ever had. Congratulations. We'll just wave the flag. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure working with you. All the participants couldn't stop talking about the warmth, the team involvement of all your employees, if I could call them that. They were just, it was like a bucket list for everybody that came to be able to do that. So again, on behalf of Gift from the Heart, I just said a warm thank you and love to all of you.
Thank you for that, Bev. It's appreciated. And I can attest that the chief and his team had the most grueling contest as well. I think I lost 12 pounds just putting the jacket on, quite frankly. It was, I also want to thank the chief for letting us borrow his truck. It made for an interesting time as we entered people's parking lots and put on some lights and sirens. I think I scared a few people, but that's okay. So I will be reading a motion to proceed into closed session. Once I do that, we will end the live YouTube stream for the duration of tonight's meeting, and we will not return to the YouTube stream when we come back into open session. Also, if council chooses to go into the closed session after I read the motion, we will take a 5-minute recess. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council resolve itself into closed session September 16th, 2024 at 7:13 p.m. pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, RSO 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, activity club matters. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Members of council, we are recessed until 7:19 p.m.